Hey there, my name is Memo, this is my channel Houseplanty Goodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion, which you might be able to see behind me is tropical houseplants. You might also be able to see in front of me, which is a plant we're going to talk about today. But if you do like this video, do consider dropping a like down below. It lets me know that you like videos like this and I should bring out more content of the same variety. And if you like content generally on houseplants and kind of getting our planty geek on, consider subscribing down below as well. Every week I'll try to bring out 2 to 3 videos. Now, without further ado, let's go into today's topic, which is the plant that you might be able to see in front of me here. And I'm going to try and move it around so you can kind of see it a bit more. I'll see if I can bring it in so you can see some of the coloration as well on some of the more juvenile leaves. And hopefully that is focusing on this leaf here. But let's talk about it, because essentially what this plant is the Piper or the Piper Sylvaticum, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, I'm going to put the name up here somewhere. And I don't think there's a lot of videos on here that are talking specifically about this Piper or Piper. I'm assuming it's Piper, but I'm not entirely sure. It is part of the pepper family, and by pepper we don't mean bell peppers. It means peppercorns, essentially. So it's part of the same family. It's a very, very cool plant. So let's talk a bit more about the morphology of this, because it's not something that you see a lot of the time in plant shops. There seems to have been a bit of an influx recently in the UK. There's some plant shops that had this. It's still relatively pricey. It's not that readily available. There was a few that kind of got released at the same time. But I would imagine that this will become a bit more of a popular houseplant, purely on how quickly it has grown since I have bought it. Now, one thing I will say, the leaves are relatively succulent. There isn't anything exciting about the back of the leaves. It's quite heavily kind of corrugated or bumpy leaves. It has got a waxy sheen to the front of it. And as with most of these types of vining plants, what you might get is some crystals that are appearing on the bottom part of the leaves, on the petioles and on the stems. And these are extra floral nectaries, and they look a bit like sugar crystals, essentially. And I've got another video on my channel talking about extra floral nectaries. If you want to know a bit more, check it out. But this plant, essentially, there was very little written about it online generally when I was trying to do some research. So I kind of felt my way around it, and I've had this now in my care for a while. So I feel like I can talk a bit about it. I've not had it for like something like a year, so I can't give you a year's worth of experience. But the one thing I will say is I resisted the urge to repot this as soon as I got it home, because it was just in pure coco coir. And from what I've seen online, I think this is still an aroid if I'm not mistaken, but it does like to remain a bit more moist. So I thought instead of stressing this plant out a lot, I thought I would kind of leave it in the soil mixture that it came in, and at some point in the future I might be able to repot this into a different type of soil. But for now, it's still in the pure coco coir that it was purchased with, essentially. The other thing that I will say is you might be able to see that I've got it staked up. The interesting thing with this plant is it does have very, very small little nubs of aerial roots. I don't find that they're getting much, much larger. But at the same time, because of the way that it's growing and the way that it's vining, it almost is a bit like a cissus, which is part of the grape family, which normally will twist around things. This doesn't do that either. And just from some of the initial research that I've done generally on Pipers, I've seen that you can stake them up and they will grow up a stake, but they won't vine around it. They won't necessarily attach. Correct me if I'm wrong and you know something very different, but I'm not seeing any of that happening here. In terms of generally when you stake something up, the leaves will generally get a bit bigger. I don't know if it is or not at this stage with the plant. It is growing quite happily. It's growing quite fast, actually. It's pushing out new leaves all the time. Granted, currently, whilst filming this, and you might be able to see I'm a bit summery today, purely because I think at the moment in the conservatory slash hothouse, it's very hot. It's about 36 degrees in here at the moment. We've had a bit of a heat wave here in the UK, so this room does get quite warm, so that's probably what's helping this grow. The other thing as well that I found this plant needs is bright indirect light, maybe more leaning towards medium light. It doesn't like bright light. However, the reason why I was showing you that leaf earlier on, and I'll see if I can bring it in a bit closer, so you might be able to see there's a bit of a pink sheen that's happening. Some of these leaves are getting a bit sun stressed, and you can see some of the older, more mature leaves that don't have some of that sun stressing on there, don't have that pink sheen. It might also go away when the leaf hardens off because some of these younger leaves haven't fully hardened off yet. In terms of watering, with the moisture meter, I won't let it go quite as dry as I would let some of my other aroids. This I will kind of tend to water a bit more like what I will do with this color in the background there. So it seems to be a bit more of a thirstier plant. So at the moment in my conditions, it was getting watered once every 7 to 8 days. I think at the moment it's every 6 days, just purely because it's been that warm. In terms of fertilizing, I've not had it for very, very long, but at the moment I am fertilizing once every second or third watering. That might also be producing more extra floral nectaries. I'm not entirely sure. I've said I've had it for a while, but I've not had it for a very, very long period of time. And I think that's everything for now. Yes, it's in my conservatory, so it is getting slightly higher levels of humidity. I don't know whether or not I would try this outside of this level of humidity, because what I've seen on some of the even rarer Pipers, they're all kind of terrarium plants. So I'm keeping this in here at the moment, and it seems to be really, really happy. At the moment, there's no real pest problems on this, touch wood, and hopefully it will stay that way. But if there are, I will do probably an update video at some point and talk about that. But yeah, I think that's everything I want to say about this plant for right now. If you've got any comments, do drop them down below. As I said, I've not had it for a huge amount of time, so I will do my best to answer. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks. Bye.